Hi, everyone. This is Sandra. Welcome to Christmas at the Schwowin's Nest. I'm so glad you're here. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you could click that button. Now let's get crafting. My first project is going to be using this vintage designed newspaper print that I found on Creative Fabrica. I'll have my link available for you down in the description box, and I'll tell you what you've got to search for. So this was really fun to use. I decided to print these off on rice paper, and now I'm just going to tear them into strips because I want to decoupage this onto my ornament. I'm going to use Mod Podge to apply the paper to my ornament, and I'm going to use a fairly thick amount because the rice paper is a little bit thicker than regular decoupage paper or tissue paper, and my ornament is pretty slick, so I want to make sure that it sticks well. I haven't sealed this rice paper, so if any wetness comes on the top of it, it will run a little bit. So if you want to seal it yours with some hairspray or maybe just even a little bit of a clear spray sealer that you might have, that would work fine. Of course, going to get wrinkles because we're putting a flat piece of paper onto a round object, but I'm okay with that because this is a vintage look and this is what I liked. The other thing is if you get any glue on your fingers and you start touching the paper where your glue on your finger is, you're going to start pulling that paper off. So you have to be just really careful how you do this. Just take your time and make sure that everything has a little bit of Mod Podge on it so it will stay down. Once I got to some of the smaller sections towards the end, I ended up just tearing my pieces of paper down a little bit smaller so they would fit and I wouldn't have too much overlapping. I didn't want this to turn out thick, so I just made sure that I trimmed where I needed to. I didn't do a lot of these ornaments. I think I only did 3 in this size, but I really love how they turned out. Now I'm gonna show you what my tree looks like with all of these vintage ornaments on it at the end, so stay tuned. For these next ornaments, I'm going to be using some old book pages. These are a really nice old vintage yellowy faded kind of color, so I thought they would be perfect. I'm cutting the pages into strips about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter. And what I'm going to do is just fold it over in half and create a loop. I'm going to do that 5 times, and then I'll just use my stapler to staple them together. This is what they look like. I have these elongated pine cones that are on the smaller side. I'm going to glue one on each side of the paper roll, and then I'm going to add a bead on top. And this turns out so cute. I actually had no idea what I was creating when I was doing this. As I was moving along, I thought, wow, this kind of looks like a little angel. So I grabbed a wooden bead and then I took a piece of this creamy colored twine and pushed both ends of the twine into the little hole, glued it in there. That would become the loop to hang the ornament. And then I hot glued the little bead right on top of the pine cones, and it turned out so adorable. I just absolutely love these. I found these white jingle bells in a pack of 12 at my local dollar store. It was some type of craft necklace thing, but what I'm going to do is create some rusty jingle bells out of these. Now I'm using my honey brown paint, which is from Americana Paints. I love this color. You could also do this in a jar. Just put your paint in and your jingle bells in, close the top of the jar, shake them up. You want to get them somewhat covered, but they don't have to be completely covered. I'm using my Cricut weeding tool just to get these onto some skewers without actually touching them and then wiping off some of the paint. It's a little bit tricky, but it can be done. Now that they're dry, I'm going to put them back in the bowl and add some burnt umber paint. This was a little too much for my first one. You don't want to add that much because you want some of that orange to peek through as well. And these ones ended up being completely covered in brown. What I do next is a little different than what I've seen other creators do. I know a lot of people use cinnamon to create that rusty kind of textured look, but I am using paprika and it just really gives it a much deeper color, a more of an orange and realistic rust looking. And when you jiggle it around in the bowl again, it actually lends a little bit more texture to the jingle bells as well, giving it all in all a better rustic look. I've got this long beaded garland and I'm starting by tying off the very end of it. And I've separated 5 beads from the rest of them. I'm going to then just cut my twine. I'm going to make a loop and I'm going to hot glue that into the first bead. That will create my hanger for my ornament. I've had this little box of black letters for a while. I think I picked them up in the summer at a dollar store somewhere, but I know I've seen the little white ones at the Dollar Tree. So if you find these, grab them because they're little wooden letters and they're so perfect for tiny little projects. I'm looking for the word Mary. So I'm just going to search through here until I get all of my letters out. And then I'm simply going to hot glue them onto the bead from top to bottom. Then I grabbed another length of twine and wrapped it around 2 of my fingers to create a really thick twine bow. I hot glued it all together to make sure it stayed and then added it to the top of the ornament. Super cute and so easy to do. I think pine cones are the ultimate primitive, vintage, or rustic farmhouse, whatever you want to call them, decor for Christmas. And I happen to have a huge bag of them. In the summertime, I found a few trees in a public lot that had spit out their pine cones, and there were hundreds of them on the ground. And I think I grabbed at least 100, maybe 150 in my bag. So I've got tons of them. And I just thought I'm going to glue the 2 ends together like this and just create some simple little ornaments to put on my tree. Then, keeping with the theme of my video today, I just took some drop cloth. I cut it in strips, and now I'm going to cut even smaller strips. I'm just going to put these in some simple shoestring bows, glue them in the center of the 2 pine cones, and have some tails hanging down. Really simple, but really pretty. And like I said, rustic, primitive, farmhouse, vintage, beautiful. This was a much shorter video than I normally do, but these ornaments were simple, quick, and easy, and this is how they look on my tree. I'm so happy with how my tree looks this year. It's kind of simple, kind of on the plain side, maybe for some people, but I just love the rustic, natural feel of it. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you're looking for more Christmas inspiration, check out my Christmas playlist. Bye for now.